Looking forward to a great evening. We now will have the prayer, so I'll just ask you all just to stand as we go to God in prayer. Let us pray. Gracious and heavenly God, we give you praise and honor that is due to your name through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior. We give thanks for yet another evening as we come here to celebrate with our children who you have inspired, nurture, and mold. We ask for your blessings to be upon this evening, especially the debaters. Instill in them that small voice that as they debate the activity tonight, that they will do it with zeal and passion. Let it be one that will assist us in the learning for the good of all of us. And we bring before you all others, the organizers. We give you thanks for them. And as we are about to begin this evening's debate, we ask your mercy to be with us all. This we ask through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. You may be seated. And welcome again. And now I turn you over to Moderator.
Good evening, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to present this evening's moderator. Dr. Olufemiki Banks Devonish was born in Barbados and raised in Anguilla. She grew up in a family very deeply rooted in culture and the arts. And following her mother's footsteps, she began participating in various arts and cultural activities from a very young age. She was always very active in the Anguillan community. She has had a long history of participation and success in pageantry, including winning the Prince and Princess Show in 1998, Mrs. CCB Talented Teen in 2005, and the Miss Anguilla Pageant 2011. She was a member of the All-Awi Young Theatre Players for many years, and later became a member of From Within Dance. She also represented Anguilla in the Leeward Islands debating competition and served 2 terms on the Anguilla National Youth Council. Upon graduating from sixth form with an associate's degree in humanities, Dr. Banks Devonish went on to complete her undergraduate studies on the President's List in Canada at Trent University, her master's degree in the United States at Penn State University, and her doctorate degree at the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. She also holds a certification in teaching English as a foreign language. While studying, she continued to be active in the culture and arts scenes by participating in various extracurricular activities and by undertaking different part-time job functions. During her undergraduate studies, she worked as a youth outreach coordinator at the Department of Gender and Social Justice, and then went on to work as an international recruitment student assistant for the Trent International Student Office. She was also elected President of the African and Caribbean Student Union and introduced Soca Size, a Caribbean soca workout class, to Trent University. Since returning to Anguilla, her master's research on culture, social network usage, and homesickness in international students was also published in the peer-reviewed journal International Social Science Review. Currently, Dr. Banks Devonish is a clinical psychologist employed by the government of Anguilla and a part-time wellness counselor at the St. James School of Medicine. She continues to be passionate about culture and the arts, but has shifted her focus to increasing awareness of mental health issues in Anguilla and creating a culture of understanding and compassion for what was once, and to some extent still remains, a taboo issue in our community. I present to you this evening's moderator, Dr. Olufemiki Banks Devonish.
Good evening, everyone. How are we this evening? How are we this evening? Okay. It is my pleasure to be here this evening as the moderator for tonight's proceedings, and I know we are all eager and ready to begin the debates. So I will begin by introducing the rules that govern the conduct of tonight's debate. Debating team. For the purpose of this debate, a debater may be any full-time primary school student from grades 4 to grade 6. The team for each debate will comprise 2 persons, a leader and a seconder. Format of debate. Tonight's debate will take the form of standard debates, but with slight alterations to suit the age and experience of primary school students. The debate has 2 rounds. Round 1, which is the prepared presentations, and round 2, the rebuttal. Please note the following rules that govern each round. Round 1, prepared presentations. The leader of the proposition shall present his or her argument for a maximum of 8 minutes. The leader of the opposition shall then make his or her argument for a maximum of 8 minutes. The second speaker of the proposition shall present his or her argument for a maximum of 6 minutes, and the second speaker of the opposition shall then present his or her argument for a maximum of 6 minutes. A warning signal will be given at the end of the speaker's allotted time. However, 3 points per speaker will be deducted from the overall score if speakers go beyond 8 minutes and 30 seconds in the case of the first speaker, and 6 minutes and 30 seconds in the case of the second speaker. The times for each speaker will be given at the end of the presentations. At the end of round 1, teams will be given 5 minutes to discuss and organize their rebuttal. Audience, you will be required to remain absolutely silent during this time. Round 2, rebuttals. Each team will be asked to identify 2 points from their opponent's argument that they do not agree with and present reasons for their position. A maximum of 2 minutes are allotted for this. Please note that any member of the team that is either the leader or the second speaker will be allowed to rebut on behalf of the team. A warning signal will be given at the end of the speaker's allotted time. However, 3 points per speaker will be deducted from the overall score if speakers go beyond 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Times for each speaker will be given at the end of the presentation. Please note that at the end of the debates, the judges will retire for deliberations. The moot of tonight's debate is the curriculum for Anguilla's primary schools is burdensome. I'll repeat. The moot for tonight's debate is the curriculum for Anguilla's primary schools is burdensome. And I will take this time now to call the debaters to the stage. First of all, we'll call the Aurelia Kelly Primary School, who will be led this evening by Jordan Henry and supported by second speaker Tiana Smith. The opposition for tonight's debate is the Morris Vanderpool Primary School. This team will be led by Sine Liebert and supported by the second speaker, Lakesia Mills. These ladies look brave and ready. Okay, you guys can take your seats. Give them another round of applause. So before we begin, I will go through the criteria for this evening's debates, and then I will introduce the judges. So for round one of the debates, the students will be judged on content and presentation. For content, the judges will be looking for soundness of points. They will look for outline structure, 5 points. Sound argument, 10 points. Adequate reference and supporting evidence, 5 points. And coherence, 5 points, for a possible total of 25 points. Logical development. They will be judging whether the opening statement was clear and engaging, 2 points. Clearly defined moot and keywords, 3 points. Clear path from premise to conclusion, 3 points. Effective concluding statement, 2 points, for a total of 10 points. The judges will also be looking for presentation in the first round. This will be judged based on audibility and clarity, which is broken down into fluency, 3 points, diction and articulation, 3 points, voice modulation and control, 4 points, for a possible total of 10 points, posture and personality, which is broken down into charismatic delivery, 4 points, body language, posture, and eye contact, 3 points, command of audience's attention or the ability to keep the audience engaged, 3 points, for a possible total of 10 points, and command of material. This is grammar usage and appropriate vocabulary, 4 points, expression and sentence structure, 3 points, and pronunciation, 3 points. For round two, which would be the rebuttals, the judges will be looking at analysis of debate, which is broken down into ability to identify 2 key arguments from the opposing side, 5 points, shows understanding of opponent's argument or effective analysis, 5 points, for a possible score of 10 points, and ability to refute, that is broken down into soundness of counter-argument, 4 points, and convincing and confident argument, 3 points, and spontaneity, 3 points, for a possible total of 10 points. They will also be judging team coordination for a possible total of 5 points. So for the entire debate, the teams have the possibility of scoring a maximum of 90 points. Now I will introduce the judges who have the most difficult job tonight because, as I said, these ladies look very much ready for the debate. So I do not envy the judges. I am glad that I am up here and not where they will be sitting. But we have three very capable judges tonight. Our first judge is Miss Sharice Gums. Miss Sharice Gums has a passion for teaching and the advancement of education in Anguilla. Her desire to teach is driven by the inspiration she would have received throughout her childhood from several of her teachers at both primary and secondary levels. Miss Gums epitomizes the core qualities of everything Anguillian: resilience, strength, endurance, and beauty. She holds fast to the principles of collaboration, teamwork, team building, and empowerment. She is a dedicated, highly motivated, and hardworking individual, parent, and educator. Her journey as an educator started in 2005 at the Stony Ground Primary School, now known as the Aurelia Kelly Primary School. In July of 2010, she successfully completed a technical and vocational Bachelor of Education degree in Family and Consumer Studies with honors at the University of Technology in Jamaica. Upon completion of her first degree, Ms. Gums was assigned to the Department of Home and Food Technology at the Albina Lake Hodge Comprehensive School as a certified graduate teacher. Subscribing to the theory of lifelong learning, she pursued and successfully completed a Master of Science degree in psychology with the University of Liverpool online in 2016. In 2020, she graduated as a Pelican after completing a postgraduate diploma in management and educational leadership with distinction from the University of the West Indies Open Campus. She strongly believes that we must all aspire to become lifelong learners and always possess a thirst for knowledge. Ms. Gums was recently promoted to the post of Deputy Principal Pastoral. Looking back on her journey, she recognizes that having a great support system is one of the requirements for success. This is why she has made a pledge to work with and support young people in every way possible. She would like to express congratulations to the Anguilla Community College for providing an avenue such as this for our nation's young people to respectfully and intellectually voice their opinions on topics that directly affect them. A word of advice to the teens: continue being brave and bold. Stay committed and focused, and success will be inevitable. The world is your oyster. Our first judge, Miss Sharice Gums. Our second judge for this evening's proceedings is Dawn Mitchell. Retired Justice Dawn Mitchell's CBE was born in St. Kitts in 1946. He has lived in Anguilla practicing law between 1976 and 1999. Before that, he practiced law in Bastille from 1971. From 1999 to 2004, he served as High Court judge in all the 9 countries of the OECS until he retired from the High Court in 2004. He then acted as judge on the Court of Appeal during the years 2011 to 2013, again working in all the countries of the OECS. Between 2007 and 2016, he taught Cape Law to the Anguillian secondary school students. He wrote and published 6 high school textbooks in the modules of company, tort, land, criminal, constitutional law, and Caribbean legal systems. With the able assistance of attorney Stanley Reed, they are now in their 3rd edition, and copies are available at the Coral Reef Bookstore in Little Harbor. Between 2006 and 2007, and again between 2016 and 2017, he was the chairperson of the Constitutional and Electoral Reform Committee. A draft constitution has been prepared and given to the government, but it is still awaiting complete acceptance by the government. He is now fully retired and works in his vegetable and herb garden in North Hill, taking care of his 5 chickens, 4 dogs, and 25 tortoises. He is well taken care of by his wife of 50 years, Maggie Mitchell, our capable second judge, Don Mitchell, CBE. Our third judge for this evening, Mrs. Chanel Petty-Barrett. Chanel Petty-Barrett is currently the Permanent Secretary in the Ministries of Sustainability, Innovation and the Environment, and Economic Development, Investment, and Commerce. Mrs. Petty-Barrett has been a permanent secretary for approximately 14 years, having previously served in the areas of education, youth and culture, sports, labor, immigration, and constitutional affairs. Mrs. Petty-Barrett pursued studies at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus and graduated in 1995 with a Bachelor of Law degree with honors. She holds a legal education certificate from the Sir Hugh Wooding Law School and was admitted to the bar in Anguilla in 1997. In 2001, Mrs. Petty-Barrett attained a Master of Laws degree from the University of London and, in 2007, completed a certificate course in legislative drafting with the same institution. Mrs. Petty-Barrett is a trained mediator. She has served in several capacities in the government of Anguilla, including Crown Counsel, Parliamentary Counsel, Senior Crown Counsel Criminal, Acting Registrar of Lands, Acting Attorney General, and Acting Deputy Governor. As a former associate attorney in the firm of Keithley Lake and Associates, Mrs. Petty-Barrett also has experience in family law, corporate law, commercial litigation, and real estate transactions. On a regional level, while in her capacity as permanent secretary responsible for education, Mrs. Petty-Barrett was elected to serve as deputy chairperson of the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, from December 2011 to December 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Chanel Petty-Barrett. Our judge for Best Speaker is Miss Susan Hodge. Susan Hodge is an English-born Anguillian and has worked in various positions in the Anguilla Public Service for more than 30 years. She currently holds the post of Program Officer in the Department of Disaster Management since its inception in October 2005. She is a graduate of the University of West Indies Challenge Program and the University of Gloucestershire, a certified business continuity manager, UNICEF Return to Happiness trainer, and member of the International Association of Emergency Managers. A trade unionist from her youth, Susan is currently president of the Anguillian Civil Service Association and is serving her second term as member of the Public Service Pension Fund Board, having served as a member of the transition community from non-contributory to contributory pension fund. A believer in lifelong learning, Susan has never let the grass grow under her feet. After winning Anguilla's first Secretary of the Year competition, she went on to win the Caribbean Secretary of the Year in 1996 to 1998. An active community volunteer in many spheres, Susan is a distinguished Toastmaster and has achieved the highest communication award from Toastmasters International Advanced Communicator Gold, and has a myriad of leadership positions in many local, regional, and international organizations. Miss Susan Hodge. Our timekeeper for tonight is Miss Shauna Richardson. We will now begin with round one of the debate, the prepared presentations. For the moot, the curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. I call the leader of the proposition from the Aurelia Kelly Primary School, Ms. Jordan Henry.
Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow students, good evening. My colleague and I stand before you this evening firmly in support of the moot. The curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. Before I begin to explain the reason for our support of this position, permit me to define the key terms of the moot. Primary school is defined by the Anguilla Education Act as a school or department of a school recognized by the minister as providing primary education. Curriculum is defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary as Curriculum is defined as the courses offered by an educational institution in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, while the Oxford Learner's Dictionary defines burdensome as causing difficulty or hard work. As such, the moot seeks to describe the primary school's curriculum as causing difficulty for the persons who are required to use it. As students, my partner and I couldn't agree more, and there are several teachers, education officials, and parents who strongly agree with us. This evening, I will, 1, discuss the content of the current curriculum and its effect on students and student life. And 2, how the current curriculum does not permit teachers to take the time to address the learning needs of the students or be creative in their lesson planning. My partner will address 1, ineffective curriculum reform has added to the overload. 2, the difficulty the curriculum places on parents mentally and financially. The Organization of the Eastern Caribbean Development, in its papers entitled Curriculum Overload, A Way Forward, explains, and I quote, "Content overload is often driven by unrealistic expectations for keeping both the breadth and depth of the curriculum content and expecting it to be completed within the given time frame," unquote. Presently, grade 6 students in Anguilla are required to study 12 subject areas, namely mathematics, literacy, social studies, science, physical education, music, art, HFLE, DEA, Education City, and ICT, and Spanish. Madam Moderator, I'm exhausted just listing them out. Each subject includes multiple topics. All of this information is required to be processed and understood in 39 weeks. We are then expected to take tests where we are required to prove our understanding of the material taught. But wait, there's more. We are still required to perfect and write 4 writing pieces for CPA and a group project. Madam Moderator, You mean to tell me all of this information is not unrealistic? That this does not cause difficulty or hard work? Lead on the 2022 Anguilla Curriculum Review Task Force and parent of a grade 6 student, Mrs. Twyla Richardson Thomas, stated, and I quote, "The Minister of Education saw it fit to instate a curriculum review task force based on concerns being echoed by parents, students, and teachers alike, with regard to the volume of the curricula in Anguilla's public schools." So, she also added, 20 years ago, students only sat 6 of the 12 subjects currently being offered in primary school level, and even then, the breadth and the depth of the coverage was less. For example, PE did not include theory as it does now, unquote. Madam Moderator, must be nice. These curriculum demands are certainly much more difficult to tackle when the list of primary school-based extracurricular activities continues to grow. And you can add the inter-primary debating competition to the current list of over 20 clubs, competition, activities, and sports that primary school children are asked to participate in. Don't get me wrong, I embrace extracurriculars as an important aspect of school life, but the curriculum demands do not allow students to fully enjoy a robust school life. And, Madam Moderator, this is from me, a child with above average learning abilities. What about a student with learning disabilities? It is even more overwhelming for these students who require just a little more time and attention from teachers. Unfortunately, they are often left behind. Not only is the curriculum overwhelming for students, it also causes great difficulties for teachers as well. This brings me to my second point, Madam Moderator. Mr. Bernard Watley, an educator in Anguilla for over 25 years, said, and I quote, "Too much material is being taught, which often finds teachers racing through the year trying to cover material within the allotted teaching time. The goal then tends to shift to finishing the curriculum on time rather than ensuring students fully understand the material being taught," unquote. Madam Moderator, this reduces the amount of creativity a teacher is allowed to introduce into their lessons, as they are forced to skip fun activities that can assist students with better understanding the material. This results in teachers being unable to assist some students to improve or develop. These are the students who are not just in the back on sports day. These are the ones who are lapped by everybody else. Madam Moderator, still not convinced that there is too much content in the curriculum? Well, I took the liberty during my research to actually review and print out the current grade 6 curriculum for the 4 core subjects. Apart from the heart attack I almost suffered, I discovered that the curriculum for just these 4 subjects is 383 pages long. Yes, 383 pages long. Aye, Lord. Every time I think about my grade 6 journey, I can hear the popular African meme echoing in my brain. The pressure is getting worse. Madam Moderator, the proposition has advanced beyond a shadow of a doubt that the curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. Thank you.
The first speaker of the proposition, Jordan Henry, spoke for 8 minutes and 6 seconds. I will now call on the first speaker for the opposition, Sine Liburd.
Moderator, there's an old proverb that goes like this: the heights that great men have reached and kept were not attained through sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. Moderator, honorable judges, my most worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I rise to oppose the moot which states the curriculum for Anguilla's primary schools is burdensome. In order to convince you of the soundness of our argument, I will first show how. 1. The primary curriculum is necessary. 2. The primary curriculum meets regional and international standards. And 3, the primary curriculum is achievable, and I will have a particular focus on school disruptions in Anguilla. My esteemed colleague will then illustrate how. 1, the primary curriculum is comprehensive. 2, the primary curriculum is a stepping stone to secondary education at the ALHCS. And 3, a case study of the COVID-19 impact on the education system. Moderator, permit me now to define the key terms of the MOOC. Cambridge Online Dictionary defines curriculum as the subject studied in a school, college, etc., and what each subject includes. Oxford Dictionary defines burdensome as difficult to carry out or fulfill. Again, moderator, we remind you that we stand in direct opposition to the MOOC. Point 1, the primary curriculum as it exists is necessary. Moderator, who can deny that knowledge has increased, and is increasing every single day? Each year, there are new inventions and discoveries in biology, archaeology, medicine, construction, and many other areas of life. In an article by Abdul Wahid Khan for the Global Economic Symposium held on June 2009, it states, and I quote, that the Assistant Director General of UNESCO argues that knowledge must be created, preserved, shared, and utilized because it is arguably the greatest wealth humans have, and this wealth is central to the economic development. There is currently a knowledge divide between the North and the South, unquote. Moderator, what are South territories such as we supposed to do? Cut down the primary curriculum while we're playing catch up with the North? We, the opposition, believe that if we cut the primary curriculum, we will see our precious Anguilla left or dragged in the dust of the world's progress. Point 2, the primary curriculum meets regional and international standards. Moderator, thanks in large part to the foundation laid in pre- and primary school, our children have kept up with the world's children. We hold to the world's educational standards as best we can, and no less should be expected. Moderator, we cannot have students in Singapore learning information and computer technology, but we trim or cut it from our curriculum. We cannot have students in Massachusetts learn about the Boston Tea Party, but we cut or trim the Anguilla Revolution from the curriculum. This brings to mind a question, moderator. What would we cut? That's a very good question. What should we cut? mathematics, language, reading, writing, science, art, social studies, music, ICT, physical education? Moderator, what can we cut without seeing an extreme and crippling consequence in the years to come? CCSLC to CSEC to CAPE to college. These are the educational standards of the region and the world. We do not exist in a bubble, but rather there is evidence that our educational system is meeting international standards. In an October 15, 2018 article, the Anguilla newspaper reported online, and I quote, Dr. Monifa Foyef Anguilla graduated in September 2017 from the University of Massachusetts, UMass, with the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Molecular and Cellular Biology, unquote. The Anguillian also reported in May 2022 article, quote, Dr. Odesca Hughes of Meads Bay, Anguilla, recently graduated from the University of Liverpool in the UK with a Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, unquote. These are persons who came to the Anguilla's primary system, moderator. We should be proud of our educational system and have confidence in our primary curriculum. Again, what would we cut from the curriculum? Point 3, the primary curriculum is achievable, and I will have a particular focus on school disruptions in Anguilla. Moderator, we the opposition are convinced that the primary curriculum can be delivered over the course of the school year if only we would let teachers teach. If we discover that this achievable curriculum is not being achieved, perhaps it is due to extracurricular activities lobbed and loaded onto primary school students. Additionally, moderator, you know we Anguillians love our holidays. Please listen as I detail those listed from the official government calendar of 2020. Quote, Queen's Birthday, Anguilla Day, midterm breaks, Labor Day, Easter Monday, Whit Monday, August Monday. Moderator, we all need to pray for the Mondays. National Heroes and Heroines Day, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Sports Day, not counting the many days spent preparing for Sports Day, unquote. Then, of course, moderator, there is class assembly, general assembly, special assemblies, visits from social groups, government officials, and God forbid there should be a little drizzle. It adds up, moderator. It all adds up and impacts learning time. You see, the curriculum isn't the problem. We don't need to trim it. We need to trim some of those things around the curriculum. Moderator, my esteemed colleague will further our argument. Until she comes, let me repeat, the primary curriculum in Anguilla is not burdensome. It is necessary and achievable. Teachers must be simply given the time and freedom to teach it. I thank you.
That was the leader of the opposition from the Morris Vanterpool Primary School, Sine Liburd, and she spoke for a total of 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Just giving the judges a couple minutes to continue. Just a reminder that the second speakers have 6 minutes to present. And we will now call on the second speaker from the Aurelia Kelly Primary School, Tiana Smith.
Madam Moderator, my partner has clearly shown the difficulties both students and teachers alike face with the current primary school curriculum. The research and the testimony show with certainty that the issues stem from the amount of material required to be taught and learned in a given time frame. In further advancement of the moot, I will explore the following points. 1. Ineffective curriculum reform has added to the overload. 2. The difficulty the curriculum places on parents mentally and financially. Excessive content is measured based on the analysis of instruction time allocated per content item. If you really try to understand this, you will realize that this is where our problem lies. My partner has stated that we have doubled the number of subjects being taught in the last 20 years. Doubled. But we are still required to learn it all in the same amount of time. So naturally, the instruction time per content item would have been dramatically reduced. As we have seen here in Anguilla, oftentimes when curriculums are reformed, subjects and topics deemed relevant are added, but the less relevant subject items are not removed or even streamlined to make room to accommodate these new additions. My partner has highlighted that Mr. Watley, an educator of 25 years, agrees. 25 years. Madam Moderator, we have to increase teaching time or we have to reduce the amount of subject areas. But what is clear is that we simply cannot continue this way. Imagine we are expected to learn all this information in 39 weeks, yet we cannot learn this clear-cut lesson about the curriculum in 25 years. Madam Moderator, it is not like it is a new concept. A review of the issues faced by Ireland, British Columbia, and Norway is certainly telling and revealing. Their students and teachers have all felt the same pressures and faced the same issues. They have done decades of research, studies, reviews, assessments, and they all lead to one diagnosis, that these are all symptoms of the disease of a burdensome curriculum. Well, we believe that Anguilla is overdue for a checkup. But let's go back to our parents, Madam Moderator. The difficulties faced by parents in dealing with burdensome curricula is often overlooked, but Madam Moderator, they are also feeling the squeeze. So permit me to discuss how the burdensome nature of the curriculum has spilled over into their lives. With the curriculum being so content-heavy, teachers are regularly unable to cover the curriculum fully or properly. Parents who can't help but want the best for us and want to do anything in their power to see us succeed are forced to pick up the slack. They are forced to endure the financial pressure of paying for extra classes just to ensure that we are completing the requirements of the difficult curriculum. Madam Moderator, can you imagine that in this fraught financial climate, parents are being forced to pay for classes in almost all of the core subject areas? What about those who can't afford extra classes? Are we contributing to the creation of haves and have-nots? Vidya Harrigan,
a parent of a former grade 6 student, admitted to paying over $300 US per month in extra classes just to ensure that her son had a fair shot at completing the school's burdensome curriculum. Money that could have gone to essentials such as food or his college education fund, or more fun activities like summer vacation. Madam Moderator, in a country where primary education is supposedly free, it seems mighty expensive to me. The alternative is for parents to help their children themselves, but that is not as easy as it sounds. Case in point, I am sure there are lots of college degrees accumulated in this very room. But I want everybody to be very honest. How many times have you looked at some of your children's primary school homework and were lost like a tourist looking for Shoal Bay Beach? It's okay. This is a safe space. Let's look at another extraordinary example. One of the take-home projects in kindergarten is to build a 3D rendering of a house. I have seen parents hauling large mini houses to the school, determined not to fail their 5-year-old child. But whose interest does this serve? Imagine requiring children to build a house before you even lay a proper educational foundation. Madam Moderator, that is the tragedy of Anguilla's current curriculum crisis. And the proposition has come here tonight, sounding the alarm by stating that the curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. Thank you.
The second speaker for the proposition, Tiana Smith, spoke for a total of 6 minutes and 7 seconds. For those just joining us online, while we allow the judges some time, the moot for tonight's debate is the curriculum for Anguilla's primary schools is burdensome. The proposition for tonight is the Aurelia Kelly Primary School, and the opposition is the Morris Vanderpool Primary School. We will now call the second speaker of the opposition, Lakesia Mills.
There is an old Japanese proverb which says, "What you don't sweat out when you're young will turn into tears when you're old," unquote. Mrs. Moderator, honorable judges, my most worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I rise to support my colleague in opposing the moot which states the curriculum for Anguilla's primary schools is burdensome. In order to convince you of the soundness of our argument, my colleague has already showed how: 1, the primary curriculum is necessary. 2, The primary curriculum is regional and international standards. And 3, the primary curriculum is achievable with a particular focus on school disruptions in Anguilla. I will now illustrate how. 1, the primary curriculum is comprehensive. 2, the primary curriculum is a stepping stone to secondary education at the ALACS. And 3, a case study of the COVID-19 impact on the education system. Point 1, moderator, the primary curriculum is comprehensive. Comprehensive moderator, meaning it caters a wide range of students' interests and abilities. Moderator, there are some who wrongly state that we need to get back to the basics: maths, language, and science. Moderator, I don't know if they've looked around lately, but the world is far from basic. The world has advanced in the field of education. No longer are governments focused on producing mostly doctors and lawyers. There's a reason why our curriculum has arts, music, sports, ICT, and other subjects for the creative mind. It is the future. Our curriculum is well structured for the times and is producing professionals in diverse areas of work. New York Daily News reported in an article by Jason Schefter, dated April 6, 2013, quote, Van Brooks, who heads construction for the project, and William Bond. Brooks was schooled in architecture at CUNY in Manhattan. He was also awarded the prestigious New York-based Enterprise Rules Architectural Fellowship. Unquote. Moderator, we know what the proposition's position will lead to. The 4 subjects to be cut or trimmed will be the arts. We must encourage, nurture, and celebrate what our artists are achieving. Yes, Mr. Van Brooks, and not to mention Louise Brooks, Banker Banks, Shara Proctor, Alex Adams, Omar Banks, Chesney Hughes, Zarnell Hughes, Deanne Candice Rogers, Jamal Hamilton, and many, many others who have made their mark in the world of arts, sports, and athletics. Point 2. The primary curriculum is a stepping stone to secondary education at the ALACS. A UNESCO November 2021 article reports, quote, in Anguilla, most education at primary level is provided by the state, which covers 91% of the total enrollments in 2015. The island has 8 primary schools, 6 of which are owned and managed by the state, and only 1 state-owned secondary school, unquote. Only 1 secondary school moderator, and that school is dependent on the primary system to send them students who are prepared to engage in secondary level content. Not to mention, our banding system is based in a large part on children's performance and primary school test of standards. So with that in mind, if there was some sudden change in content taught at primary level, the resulting chaos would ripple through Anguilla's entire education system. Point 3, a case study of the COVID-19 impact on the education system. Moderator, the breadth and depth of the primary curriculum is not the problem. My colleague has listed many interruptions, holidays, and school visits. However, some incidents are not mere interruptions. They are outrageous disruptions. Case in point, the 2019 COVID pandemic. This disease led to school closure for months unending. Teachers were unable to deliver the curriculum as they usually did. UNICEF's 2021 summary report on the safe reopening of schools after
after COVID-19 states, and I quote, "As schools reopened among primary school students, face-to-face was the most used form of teaching. Only 1/3 of the teachers preferred teaching online, and the biggest concern for teachers was finishing the curriculum." Moderator, teachers were confident that if they could have returned face-to-face teaching earlier, they would have had a better chance of completing the curriculum. Moderator, this is our argument. The primary school curriculum is necessary. It's achievable. It's comprehensive. It's in line with regional and international standards. It's a well-positioned stepping stone to ALACS. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second speaker for the opposition spoke for a total of 6 minutes and 27 seconds. We have come to the end of round one, the prepared presentations, and at this point we will allow the speakers 5 minutes to prepare their rebuttals. During this time, we want to remind the audience to remain absolutely quiet so that they're able to concentrate on their preparation. Okay, we have come to the end of the 5 minutes for preparation for the rebuttal round. Just a reminder that in the rebuttal round, each team will be asked to identify 2 points from their opponent's argument that they do not agree with and present reasons for their position. They will be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes for this. For the rebuttal round, we begin with the opposition, the Morris Vanterpool Primary School.
Moderator, the opposition returns to remind you and our opponents that we stand against the moot. The curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. We will now highlight the errors in our opponent's argument. Moderator, my noble opponent said, which is the first speaker, there is a curriculum overload. This does not cause difficulty or hard work. Moderator, are they saying that our educators who draft these documents do not know what they are doing? Are they claiming that the international standards are also wrong? I remind you, Moderator, that my colleague and I have shown that the Anguilla primary school curriculum is indeed very achievable if we trim the fat off the school day and just let teachers teach. Moderator, my noble opponents, which is the first speaker also, what about students that have learning disabilities that need to take extra classes? Moderator, if the teachers cannot get through all the content that needs to be taught, this only shows that more learning time is needed, not less. And we have already identified the many interruptions to the school day. Those are the things that should be cut to make room for the necessary curriculum. Also, that there is no one reason why children are put into afternoon classes. To catch up and to reinforce, to teach responsibility, to keep them engaged in learning, and to prepare them for upcoming tests. Moderator, the opposition rests.
The opposition's rebuttal was 2 minutes and 13 seconds. I will now call on the proposition to present their rebuttal.
Can you put it closer to me? Yeah. Madam Moderator, listening audience, judges, greetings again from the proposition team. My colleague and I have listened attentively to the argument presented by our opponents, and we stand firm in our support of the proposition of tonight's moot, which states that the curriculum for Anguilla's primary school is burdensome. Madam Moderator, we have shown throughout many examples how the primary school curriculum is burdensome or difficult. Based on my research, the opposite of the word burdensome is easy. Our opponents have not been able to prove or even state that the current curriculum in Anguilla is easy, and that is where their argument crumbles. I will address a point raised by the first speaker of the opposition when they stated, and what I understood, that the curriculum is achievable. Not because we are doing well means that we are not struggling while we excel. That is not what our school experiences should be about. But sure, a few shiny trophies should be the right plaster to rest on the gaping wound that the burdensome curriculum leaves in the social lives of Anguilla's youth. Madam Moderator, the first speaker of the opposition stated that there are multiple holidays that assist with the stress. All of these holidays are just a little time to get over, to get a little studying time and free time. Although grade 6 students still are required to study because test of standards is just around the corner. Madam Moderator, the proposition rests its case. Thank you.
The proposition's rebuttal was a total of 2 minutes and 10 seconds. We have come to the end of this portion of the debate, and we will now ask our judges to retire for deliberations. Ladies, exhale. You can breathe now, okay? All the formalities now are over, okay? So as soon as the judges leave the room, we will have more of a discussion. Okay, we will allow the debaters some time to take a break from the stage, but before they do, I want everyone to just give them a big round of applause. I think they did an amazing job this evening, a very amazing job. I'm extremely impressed. So you guys, if you need a break, if you need to use the bathroom or anything, you could just leave the stage for a bit. So at this point in the evening, we normally ask for contributions from the audience. But before we do that, we're going to do something a bit different tonight. The Vivian Vanderpool Primary School was to present their debate on the topic paper and books should be replaced with technological devices in Anguilla's primary schools. Unfortunately, their opponents, the Adrian C. Hazel Primary School, had to withdraw from the debate. So that means that the Vivian Vanderpool Primary School won this debate by default. Give them a round of applause. However, the purpose of this exercise is development. We want to develop the young people. We want to encourage them to come to these kinds of forums and have these conversations, to have these debates, to do the research, and that is why we are going to call on the debaters from the Vivian Vanderpool Primary School to present their side for the debate. They would have been the opposition opposing the moot. Paper and books should be replaced with technological devices in Anguilla's primary school. We want to remember that this experience is not all about winning. We want to make sure that the young people develop their skills. So if the debaters from the Vivian Vanterpool Primary School would so kindly come to the stage and present their debates, we would be extremely grateful. Welcome them on stage with a huge round of applause. Please welcome the first speaker, Denisha White.
William Shakespeare, in his book, The Merchant of Venice, said, "All that glitters is not gold." Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, my most illustrious opponents, fellow debaters, listening and viewing audience, a very pleasant good evening. I rise in total opposition to the moot. Paper and books should be replaced by technological devices in Anguilla's primary schools. Before advancing my argument, please permit me a brief moment to define the key terms of the moot. According to the Oxford Study Dictionary, paper is defined as material manufactured in thin sheets from the pulp of wood or other fibrous substances used for writing, drawing, and printing on, while replace is defined as to take the place of. Books are written or printed work. On the other hand, the Webster Study Dictionary defines digital devices as computers, cellular phones, smartphones, and other digital apparatus that can be used for creating, storing, or transmitting information in the form of electronic data. Madam Moderator, please allow me to also establish the foundation from which my colleague and I will present our argument. I will expound on the economic and social issues that may occur, the distraction and misinformation offered by these devices, and the possible ineffective methods of teaching and learning that may transpire. My most illustrious colleague will elucidate on the possible failure of technology, the health risks, and the increase in cheating possibilities. Madam Moderator, my colleague and I wish to state categorically from the onset that we have absolutely no problem with the use of technology in the classroom. In fact, we fully support the advancement of technology in all the schools in Anguilla. We, however, have serious issues with completely replacing paper and books by technological devices in Anguilla's primary schools. That would be the biggest mistake ever made by the government and Ministry of Education. Madam Moderator, I am afraid that all hell will break loose in our schools. Firstly, Madam Moderator, it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that such a venture would be much too expensive to sustain. Not only are these technological devices extremely costly, but they are even more expensive to repair and maintain. The big question is, who will be responsible for buying and servicing these devices? Some parents can barely afford to buy uniforms or lunch for their children. So where would they find the money to purchase these costly devices? I sincerely hope that my most naive opponents are not for one moment suggesting that the government of Anguilla should bear this burden. Because you and I know that the government is so broke that they can't even stand at attention for the national anthem. In fact, the government can hardly find enough money to pay the civil servant's salary each month. So how would they be able to take on such enormous responsibility? Secondly, Madam Moderator, even a blind bat can see that the majority of our students are addicted to their phones and other technological devices. As a result of this, students will become extremely distracted if they were given these devices to work in school. Madam Moderator, not only would students lose focus, but this will cause the standard of education to plummet dramatically. This is supported by an article published by procon.org, April 2018, and I quote, "Digital devices have too many distractions for classroom use. Some students may pay attention to apps, emails, games, and websites instead of their teachers. 87% of K-12 teachers believe that today's digital technologies are creating an easier distracting generation with short attention span." Unquote. The reality is, Madam Moderator, if our children were allowed to use their phones, tablets, computers in schools, the majority of them would abuse this privilege. Instead of using them effectively to learn, they would use them at the wrong times for the wrong reasons. And how would our teachers be able to monitor what their students are doing on their devices? Madam Moderator, our students may not be brilliant at math and English, but trust me, they are experts at outwitting any adult with technological devices. When our teachers think their students are busy using their devices to learn and develop in class, many of them would be watching pornographic movies, shopping, and gambling. Madam Moderator, I dare say students will find a way to be on WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or FaceTime, gossiping with their friends and doing inappropriate stuff, of which I dare not to mention. Is this what my righteous opponents would like to see happen here in our schools? I hope not. Finally, Madam Moderator, I am afraid that if technological devices were to replace paper and books in the primary schools, many of our teachers would become lazy, and instead of giving individual, personalized attention when needed, many of them would depend on these devices to do their work. What is even worse, the dependence on technology in the classroom would also make our students careless and reckless. Instead of focusing on what the teacher is saying in the class, many of them would rely on their devices to take pictures of notes while ignoring the teacher. This would not only give rise to people's indiscipline, but it would also result in a decline in people's effective writing, spelling, and reading skills. According to Sam Blumenfeld, in his 1999 article, Practical Homeschooling, published by alphaphonics.com, and I quote, The only reason why computers will never replace books is because books provide in-depth knowledge of a subject that is sitting in front of a computer cannot provide. We can download text from an internet source, but the aesthetic quality of sheets of downloaded text never leaves much to be desired. A well-designed book enhances the reading experience. Unquote. Madam Moderator, I wish to reiterate that my colleague and I fully agree that there is much room for technology in the classroom. However, we feel that the process of integrating technology alongside the proper use of paper and books in the classroom would be more effective than using technology solely for educating students, especially in the primary schools. I must therefore stand firm in total opposition to the moot. Paper and books should be replaced by technological devices in Anguilla's primary schools. I thank you.
Give her another round of applause. Extremely powerful. I'll now call on the second speaker to present his debate. Please put your hands together for Corey Moranci.
Madam Moderator, trusted judges, my most distinguished opponents, listening and viewing audience, good evening. I now have the rather exciting task of supporting my most capable colleague in total opposition to the moot. Paper and books should be replaced by technological devices in Anguilla's primary school. Madam Moderator, let me start by saying that modern technology, when used effectively, could be very beneficial. On the other hand, the use of modern technology is not only expensive, but it can be extremely risky. Madam Moderator, with all due respect to Anguilla's sole electricity provider, how often have we been confronted with sudden power outage or island-wide electrical blackout? What is even worse is how often we are faced with an internet failure, Wi-Fi dropout, or computer malfunction just when we need to complete an important assignment or send an urgent email. Imagine what would happen in our schools if these unfortunate incidents were to occur while students were totally dependent on their digital devices for learning. The disruption, chaos, and confusion will be enough for our schools to close down for several days. Is this another lame excuse that my noble opponents are trying to create in order to get a few more days of vacation? I hope not. We only have to cast our mind back to the period of shutdown caused by the coronavirus pandemic when classes were conducted virtually at our schools. Many students complained that they were unable to attend class assignments either because of power failure, computer malfunction, or the inability to access the internet. Have we not learned from this experience? Madam Moderator, school teachers and parents complained that during the shutdown, hardly any learning took place. What is even worse, Madam Moderator, teachers reported that despite their best effort, online learning resulted in an increase of students cheating during tests. This, Madam Moderator, is sad but true. And in the same way, if paper and books were to be replaced by technological devices in school, it will give a rise to cheating in the classroom. Madam Moderator, using technological devices in our primary school for teaching and learning sounds all well and good. But has anyone ever stopped to consider the health risks involved? Did my most cunning opponents ever mention to you that staring at a computer or phone screen all day can severely damage the eye? Research shows that handheld technological devices, including tablets, are associated with a range of health problems. These contribute to computer vision syndrome, which causes eye strain, headaches, blurred vision, and dried eyes. Additionally, according to the American Optometric Association, in their 2019 article, Should Tablets Replace Textbooks?, published by procon.org, and I quote, people who use mobile devices more often have a higher incidence of musculoskeletal disorders associated with repetitive strain on the muscles, including carpal tunnel syndrome, stiff neck, and shoulder pain, unquote. Madam Moderator, what concerns me the most is that studies have shown that the constant use of technological devices, such as computers, cell phones, and tablets, by students may result in acute mental disorder. Yes, Madam Moderator, many of our students are already emotionally unstable and mentally challenged. Do we want to open that Pandora's box, which might result in the majority of our students and even our teachers becoming mentally challenged? This, Madam Moderator, is very scary. I am afraid that if paper and books were to be replaced by technological devices in our schools, this is exactly what would happen. Finally, Madam Moderator, if paper and books were to be completely replaced by technological devices in our schools, this change will marginalize decades of learned wisdom in favor of an unproven technology. According to the education reformer, Mike Schmoker, in the Educational Journal at ResearchGate.net, July 2021, and I quote, until the core elements of literacy and critical thinking are learned by every student, it makes little sense to adopt new programs, technology, or other innovations. Technology gets in the way and makes teaching and learning more burdensome, unquote. Madam Moderator, it is obvious that our primary schools are not yet ready for this change. Madam Moderator, technology will always keep growing, and new inventions will always be discovered. For the most part, growing technology is a sign of progress in our society. But enhancement and the use of technology should not dictate the path of education. Instead, it should improve education while still upholding the core values and principles associated with learning. Madam Moderator, my colleague and I have researched this topic thoroughly. We had discussed it extensively with the relevant authorities, our principals, our teachers, our parents and peers, and we remain convinced beyond any shadow of a doubt that paper and books should never be replaced by technological devices in Anguilla's primary schools. I thank you.
Give them both a big round of applause. Thank you guys so much for being so brave and being so willing to come and present your debates this evening. We really appreciate it, and you did a wonderful job. Give them a round of applause. And ladies and gentlemen, we have another treat in store this evening. I think that it is extremely commendable that these young people have really embraced the purpose of this debating competition, and that is to increase their knowledge, to share their knowledge, and to develop their skills. So, with that said, we are going to welcome students of the Valley Primary School whom would have been debating this evening had they won on night one, because they worked so hard to put together these debates. These debates are not easy to write. They take time, they take effort, they take a lot of preparation. So we will have them now to present what they would have presented this evening for their debates. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Romeo Forbes.
And I am Kailani Richardson.
Of the Valley Primary School. First and foremost, congratulations and job well done to tonight's speakers. This topic was keenly contested on stage, but I know it is also frequently discussed in homes, in schools, among educators, and believe me, we the students have quite a lot to say on the matter as well. Something that stood out to us during preparation was how difficult it was to define the curriculum. Everyone has a basic understanding of the concept, much like the definition provided by Cambridge and Longman dictionaries. Quote, all of the subjects taught and studied at a school or college and what each subject includes, unquote. We tend to think of it in terms of being a physical document, like a checklist of topics and subtopics, definitions, instructions, and information about resources and materials that can be used to support learning. Oxford's Languages says that burdensome means, quote, difficult to carry out or fulfill, taxing or undesirably restrictive, unquote. So essentially, the mood can be interpreted like this. It is taxing and difficult to carry out teaching or learning on all of the subjects taught and studied at Anguilla's primary schools. Let us consider the sheer volume of topics that must be covered within one school year at any particular grade level. Many students can attest to the experience of being aware that we haven't covered all the units or topics we were supposed to cover for a particular term or school year. They can also attest to feeling rushed coming down to the end of the term or school year to finish up and prepare for exams. The volume of work and demonstrated difficulty in covering all the topics definitely qualifies as a burden on not just teachers and students, but parents as well. A large volume of things to learn also highlights concerns for teachers to ensure that all of their students are able to have successful learning experiences. This is important because every student has different learning styles and levels of abilities. Any teachers have to keep track of them all. Hats off to them. We don't say it enough. This large volume also translates to a greater need to provide more home assignments in large volumes. This definitely ends up frustrating children and parents alike. The curriculum is sometimes even at odds extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are an important part of helping students grow into well-rounded persons. We cannot ignore its importance on a person's education. B.S. Skinner, a famed 20th century psychologist who focused on children and learning, said, quote, "Education is what survives when what has learned has been forgotten," unquote. And personally, looking at a curriculum document reminds me of all the things I have learned and already forgotten. Thank you.
I think my friend has said several mouthfuls. There is merit in some of the things that have been shared, but it really is important to nail down the most accurate definition of the term curriculum. Wiles and Bondi in their 2007 publication asserted that, quote, "The curriculum represents a set of goals and values that are activated through a developed process and culminate in successful learning experiences for students," end quote. Let's add this to Kelly's definition in the book, The Curriculum. Theory and Practice, published in 2009, where it says that, quote, "The curriculum is a totality of experiences a pupil has as a result of the provisions made," end quote. These definitions expand our idea of the concept of a curriculum. They make it more about than just a document with a checklist of topics. They include intangible things, like goals and values too. Let's also take into consideration that navigating the curriculum successfully depends on how well the subject material is delivered to students. I think this is the pivotal point, the delivery of the subject material. As a student, I know that if I am not fully engaged in a lesson, with my focus being constantly maintained, becomes burdensome to learn the subject material in that lesson. That has a lot more to do with how my teachers present the information. If the lessons are delivered efficiently, with more time spent engaging with the material itself, rather than writing epistles of notes. Don't get me wrong, note-taking is an important skill to learn, but we have to have opportunities to learn this skill too. It is a skill that should be taught beyond copying words off of a board. Let's also consider external factors that affect the delivery of a curriculum material. breaks from school, allotted lesson times, and extracurricular activities. Curriculum development takes into consideration life skills that are important for students to grow, survive, and thrive. Life is challenging, and it doesn't hurt to be exposed to a wide range of topics, to be prepared for whatever life throws at you. Successful learning experiences for students all hinge on the methods of delivering the necessary wide-ranging material. The style of the delivery can definitely impact on how difficult or taxing it could be to cover the curriculum, rather than the curriculum itself. Mark Twain is often quoted saying, quote, "I never let my schooling interfere with my education," unquote. If the delivery of the curriculum, as well the environment fostered by the institution, revolves around an attitude of learning for life rather than one of learning just to pass tests, then a person's burdensome schooling would never interfere with their education. After all, what was it that B.F. Skinner said? Oh yeah, quote, "Education is what survives when what has been learned has been forgotten," unquote. Thank you.
Give them another round of applause. That's the Valley Primary School. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our judges have returned. We did not hear from the audience this evening, but that's okay because those who matter spoke. This event is about the children, and we're happy that they were able to present tonight. So give them a big round of applause for their bravery. Okay, so now it's time for the results. First, I will call on Ms. Susan Hodge, the judge for Best Speaker, to present the Best Speaker for this evening.
Good evening. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, parents, students, and debaters. I'm here again with this difficult task to perform. Choosing the best speaker out of 4 accomplished speakers is hard. In fact, tonight was my most difficult judging night. I want to commend you all for your poise as you presented your arguments. However, I felt your eye contact and body language could have been a little bit more engaging. All of you had great command of your material, and the persuasive language used was convincing for both sides of the argument. A 300-page curriculum, building a house before laying the educational foundation. Who knew, apart from teachers, that a term is 39 weeks? But wanting to take away my Mondays is a little hard. The major differences for me were in the areas of articulation, audibility, clarity, and fluency. As I said earlier, this was my most difficult night judging the speakers. In fact, there is a total of 2 points between the speakers. But there can only be one best speaker, and in my opinion, the best speaker was Miss Tiana Smith.
Congratulations to the best speaker for this evening. And now I will call on the head judge to present the results for the debate. Please welcome Mrs. Chanel Petty Barrett.
A pleasant good evening to everyone. As Susan would have indicated, it was indeed a difficult debate to judge. I just want to give both teams a hearty round of applause. We were totally impressed with the quality of the debate, the quality of the presentations by both teams. It was very clear that they were well prepared for their presentations. They spoke quite clearly, they enunciated well, they were well researched, and I think that that speaks volumes for the preparation that would have gone into the debates. I just want to say to both teams that regardless of the results that are announced, please consider yourselves winners. I know it's cliche, but it's totally the truth, because at your age, hardly any of us sitting in this audience would be up here on this stage. I can tell you that. So please be proud of yourselves. You have a lot to be proud of. There were a few areas that we thought needed a bit of work. While most speakers enunciated clearly, we thought that there was need for improvement in the areas of voice control and modulation for some speakers. And we want to encourage speakers to be their natural selves. Sometimes when we try to memorize speeches, it comes across as if we're doing it by rote, but we really want to encourage persons to still deliver your speeches naturally, own the speech, believe what you're saying, and then you'll be able to convince others. We did like the use of dialect and modern slang. We thought it was appropriate and effective. The references were quite relevant as well. One point that we wanted to note in relation to references is that they should include dates to show that they are still relevant and current. We think that that would be useful going forward. And we want to encourage teams to ensure that the information in their references is actually factual, because there were a few situations in which the factual nature of the references was questionable. We want to encourage persons as well to maintain their posture while speaking. We noted that some persons would have lost their posture along the way, and to ensure that their body language is in keeping with what they're saying at the time so that it's effective. In other words, your body language and what you're actually saying should match each other. In terms of the rebuttals, we thought that generally the teams did a very good job. We encouraged them to listen carefully to their opponents' arguments. While we do recognize that at this age, it's difficult for them, it's difficult for anybody doing a rebuttal. We applaud their efforts and we just encourage them to keep at it. As we were discussing during our deliberations, it's really important for persons who are interested in debating to continue to hone your skills, meaning any opportunity that presents itself for you to speak, you use that opportunity, and your skills will become even more sharpened with time. So generally, a very good job on the part of the debaters. We are very proud of all of them. That being said, one team scored 389 points out of a total of 465, and the other team scored 426 points. And the winner of tonight's debate The proposition, Aurelia Kelly Primary School.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of night 3, and the winner, Aurelia Kelly Primary School. The final debate will take place on Saturday evening, right here at the same time. Thank you guys for coming.